How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode on the single player world. I hope you're having a super good day today. I'm having a very, very good day. I'm super excited to play Minecraft today, guys. Got something really exciting to show you that I've been working on for like over a month now. I've just been designing something for so long. I've been tweaking it and redesigning it, and I've built like 10 different versions of it. And I finally have a functioning design to show you today, guys. So we're going to do the infinite wall building device in a little bit. But first, we got to get some materials together, and one of those is prismarine. So over here in the Guardian farm. And there's a super big problem with this that we need to address. Actually, I already did address it. It's this little thing right over here. You can probably guess what that is already. But this thing was breaking. I don't know what the deal is, but these shulker boxes get filled up with items. This is the Il Mango shulker filling device. And there's a T flip-flop over there. There's a piston that pushes up an observer up by that half slab up there, up by the quartz slab, right there. And that would get stuck in the on position every once in a while, and it would break the farm. It would continually fill up, and it just totally wouldn't work, and it would break all the other ones as well, and it would cause this huge problem of backups. And I was starting to fill up boxes with like a couple items each, and they would get dispensed into here. It was this humongous mess, so I had to fix all of this, take everything out, put it all back in. It took me like an hour. It was so ridiculous. But the way that I'm solving that problem is, I think, just my best guess basically is that I was leaving the area as this thing was activating or whatever, and I don't know. That was my best guess. And so what I've done is made an off switch. I thought for a while about putting dispensers up here and turning off the tubes, but I feel like that would just be so much work. And the way that I've got 4 of these farms laid out, it would be kind of a lot of redstone if I wanted to do it off of one switch. So I'd have to jump up onto all 4 of them and hit levers, and that didn't seem very cool. So instead, what I've done is just made an off switch on the item elevator. It's kind of funny, but it works perfectly. So check it out. You remove a block, and as you remove the block, with a little bit of a delay, you got this flint and steel in here. Oh my gosh, I gotta get a new one. Yeah, and everything goes up into the hole because there's a hole in the item elevator, and because there's fire on it, it'll just break all the blocks and destroy them. So it's kind of cool. So every time I leave, I'll just turn this on, and that way no items are like going through the system, and it hasn't broken yet, which is pretty cool. So anyway, little update for you. What I want to do now is grab a couple of these boxes and craft up a whole bunch of prismarine, like a whole bunch. We need like at least a few shulker boxes full of it. Okay, so we need like 50,000 blocks if we want to do a whole wall of the perimeter, and I don't want to do all 4 walls. I kind of do, but I can't think about that right now. We just got to think about one step at a time. That's the way that these projects happen. If we can't figure out how to do one wall, then we can't figure out how to do 4 walls. So for now, I'm just trying to figure out if we can get all the blocks, make a machine to build an entire wall, hopefully, and then we'll move on from there. And so I figured out a pretty good method on crafting blocks like this. So if you use auto crafting, I gotta implore you to try using classic crafting. It's so much faster. I mean, just look at how fast I'm crafting this up. It's taking me like 5 minutes. I'm gonna have 3 full boxes converted over, or 4 full boxes of shards. I mean, I don't know. That's way faster than automatic crafting. For some things, like for snow in particular, auto crafting is way faster, but that's only because you can only put 16 blocks in a stack. So for these 64 stacked items, oh my gosh, this is way faster. You can see. So if you just leave a couple slots down in your hotbar, it makes using the D-pad. I use the D-pad, and it's way, way faster. So anyway, just wanted to show you guys that real quick. Let's see how many blocks we've got so far. That's a pretty good amount, and we've already got, I'm pretty sure, like a whole shulker box over there already. Oh, sweet. Okay, so we've got packed ice, a lot of packed ice. I'm actually going to use this in the wall because we have an insane amount of this packed ice, like all over the world. It's super easy to mine, and we've got a lot of it over by the perimeter, and I thought it would be cool with our block palette. So we've also got polished diorite, a whole bunch of that, and I've got another double chest of it if we ever need more, which of course we're going to need more. And then we also have the prismarine. Very cool. I found this from a while ago, so I grabbed this as well. And yeah, that's our block palette so far, plus a whole bunch of snow. So it's going to be mostly snow, so I'm going to have to craft a buttload of snow. It's going to take me a while to do that. So that's going to be kind of like the bulk of this project, because really I'm going to build it up, and that's going to take a little while because I've never built this in survival, and so that's going to be pretty difficult. And then AFKing isn't work because I can go exist in real life while it's running, and so I'm not considering that as much work. So the main part of this project is literally just crafting all these freaking blocks. It's kind of crazy. And you know what? Look at that. There's a whole bunch more prismarine as well. I just leave stuff everywhere. It's kind of like a curse and also a blessing at the same time that I leave stuff everywhere, because I'm always like needing blocks, and so I search around. I always like find them, but at the same time, sometimes I need blocks. And they're scattered all over the dang place. Okay, don't drop that. And do I have? I do have this slime blocks. I'm gonna need those as well. See what I mean? Stuff comes in handy. Let's check this out just in case I'd like to grab those. Oh, and look at this. Even more stuff we're gonna need. Amazing. Okay. So let's hop down here and let's go see what I've been talking about this whole freaking time. Been hyping this up forever. By the way, I lit the gold farm. Let's go check this out real quick, and then we'll go do the wall builder, because I actually did do something over here as well. So if you remember, I built this in the wrong spot. Well, I fixed it, and it was really easy to fix. It's kind of funny. I made myself laugh because I thought we were gonna have to move everything. Oh my gosh, it's super loud. But all I had to do was move the shaft over by 1 block. And then, or 2 blocks actually. Now all the guys fall just on the right side and they get pushed over to the left. So the way that I built this collection area, it's actually perfect. It'll still work for us. I didn't have to move anything too drastically, like I didn't have to move any obsidian. And now it's perfectly lined up and it works a lot better. Even though we're not getting XP, and occasionally they don't get aggroed, eventually they will get aggroed. So it works pretty well as a gold farm. And you know what I found out as well? Check this out. This is kind of interesting. I know it's loud. We'll get out of here. But I've also been trying to figure out how to collect all the items. I can't figure it out. They fly everywhere. It's been bugging me. But if you aim underneath the minecart when they're sitting in the minecarts and hit them, let's see if we can do it, because I really don't want to hit a minecart because we're going to have to replace all of them. Oh, I missed him. It's kind of hard to do. Let's see if we can get it. Okay, we hit him. And you can see we got XP. Check that out. So, gold farms are still possible at the moment to get XP from them, but you have to hit every single pigman. It doesn't draw aggro. Hitting the pigmen doesn't make them angry, but you will get XP from them that way. Kind of interesting. I just figured that out. So anyway, I've left this on, and we're going to leave it on for a little while, and I think it should be okay. Hopefully, eventually, it will work completely, and then we'll be very, very happy. All right. Okay, I think what I'm going to do here is we're going to run this thing for a little bit so we can see what kind of wall it's able to build. And then obviously you'll be able to see like how it randomizes blocks and all that. And then afterwards, if you're interested, we'll go into the creative mode. This episode is going to be all about this wall building device. We're going to go into the creative mode afterwards, and I'll show you all the different pieces that makes this possible, and hopefully you'll be able to understand how it works. And I'll show you the brand new version that's like 1,000,000 times better, that is able to be tileable vertically. Oh my gosh. So anyway, the whole thing's run off of a block randomizer, basically. And so the way that I have this set up right now, I've got 2/3 of it snow, and depending on where you put these blocks, will basically give you a different distribution pattern of these blocks built into the wall. And so for example, if I wanted just like almost all snow, I could do this, and so only a little bit of polished diorite goes into here, and the rest of it's going to be snow. So you can have it be, that's basically the smallest amount of variation you could have, and then the most amount of variation you could have is if every single stack in here was different. So you can achieve that by having two hoppers go into it with these blocks, ready to go. And the key here is that you have blocks that aren't able to go in, for example over here, and that way you can ensure that you always have a stack of the proper block ready to go. Every time one of these comes out, you got new ones coming into the system, and same goes for this hopper. Every time ones are coming out of here, hopefully you should have shulker boxes on top full of everything you need to have it go into there as well. So you never run out of blocks, and you always get a random block. Okay, well, I've plastered this all in glowstone, and we're going to try and run this during the day. But of course, you could just AFK here infinitely. That is the point of this. And the way that is able to be achieved is by taking one block out of here. Obviously, I don't have any backups, and so we're going to have to set that up in a minute. But just to show you how this works, is every time you place a block, you're going to get another block. So you can just hold down the button, and it'll place them like this. And you can see on the left, I've got the splitter device where it pushes this column up to push limit. And then when it's filled this one up, it'll start pushing it over here, and it'll fill this one up as well. So let's get our shulker boxes full of the proper blocks. And remember, I just saved, so we don't really have to worry about how I do this. So let's put a snow up on top of the snow hopper, like so. And I think, let's just make sure, I think this slime block will be able, yeah, flying machine is not in the way of, or this is not in the way of the flying machine. Perfect. And then what do we need? We need these 3 blocks and a shulker box over here. I think what I might be able to do as well is do like 3 hoppers and 3 boxes full of materials, but we won't worry about that right now. I think I've got a split up box in here somewhere. There it is. Let's grab a little bit more diorite, stir that in here, so we just got a full stack. Okay, and let's put all our extra blocks in here, and remember we need 1. Okay. So we've got this in here, which means that every time we take a block out, it will be replenished until they're empty. And so, yeah, I think we're ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to fill up these cartridges full of blocks, and then I'll show you what happens when we get to the top of that one. Okay, a cool thing about this version is it's pretty fast. So you can see we made it up to the top there, and we got random blocks. Look at that, super cool, and mostly snow, which is what we want. We can always change it. One of the reasons why I want to use this machine right now before we build our new one is I just want to test this block palette out in the area, because I've done it in like a super flat, but I haven't seen it like with the backdrop of all this stuff, and I just want to see it here and, you know, see what it looks like. So let's see what happens when it gets to the top of the stack over there. Is that there's going to be an observer that's going to launch all these flying machines. They're going to fly over to these little flying machines. Magic is going to happen. So pay attention. We're going to stand back. I think we got one more. Oh no, that was it. Okay. So all the flying machines, you can see the stacks of snow right there. They get dropped off. All the flying machines advance. What is going on here? Really? How strange. I'm missing a piston on this one. Unless it's invisible. It is invisible. God, what is going on here? Man, I tell you what, I would never try and build this on a server. It would be such a pain. Oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine trying to do all of this. Because one block, like, it's not the machine. It's just the way that flying machines work in Slimestone. Like, if you've ever built stuff out of this kind of redstone, like, you'll know that one block is a make or break. Like, man, it would be so hard to get this perfect the first time and let it run the first time and have it work. My gosh, I would never try without autosave disabled. Okay, so let's get back to where we were. I keep forgetting I can just hold the button down. And yeah, let's see what happens when we start building the wall. Hopefully it'll work now that I removed that glowstone. What's also really cool about this is that the piston is slowed down to the perfect amount of time where you can keep up with all the rest of the machine can keep up with how fast you're placing, and you can see that when it gets to the end, it'll extend that piston and prevent you from placing more. Sweet, so we got a randomized blocks over there, and you can see it's way different than the first time we did it because it's random. And then as it comes back into the station, it'll de-extend that piston so we can place more blocks. And it's all perfectly timed out so we can AFK. So let's just do a whole section all, you know, completely AFK, and I'll just hold the button down and I won't move anything. You'll see how often we can place these blocks and how long it's going to take. So there we go, it just prevented us from placing. The flying machine's going to fly over our head, place some blocks, bam, and then come on back, and you can see the piston will de-extend in a second. There we go, and replace some more blocks. Super cool. Okay, so I'm going to let this run for like, I don't know, until it overlaps. It'll be a while. We'll probably take away quite a bit of blocks in this system here. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what it was able to create. Okay guys, a little while later, let's check out the progress. So, as you can see, we have a wall and it is randomized and it has overlapped and it will continue to do so all the way to the end. Yeah, I don't know, what do you think? Man, it's gonna be hard. No matter what, I'm not gonna like start building this wall for real this episode because I don't want to just do a random block palette and then be unhappy with it. So I really want to make sure that we get this right. And I don't know what I think about it yet. I feel like it needs something, but I don't think it's like another block because I feel like it could just be way too much. I almost feel like it needs less variation. Like it needs more snow. You know what I mean? Ah, man, I don't know. It's a tough call. So we might do a couple more like versions of this with some different patterns, but I don't know. This is the best one I've come up with so far. So I might go with it, but I don't know. It's a tough call. It's a really tough call. So anyway, let's go into creative mode and let's check out how this thing actually works. And I'll show you basically the steps that it took in order to design this. Yeah, we'll go check it out and it should be pretty interesting. And then hopefully we'll build up the brand new version in a little bit. Okay, Redstone testing world. This is the brand new version, and as you can see, it's got 7 flying machines instead of 3, and what's so cool about this is it could have a whole lot more. And so I think the way that I've built this, we could go all the way up to the top of the wall and build a 60 block tall wall all the way to the end of the perimeter all at once, I think. We'll come back to it, but I'm pretty sure that that should be possible. I might run into some problem with the redstone, and also with the amount of flying machines all activating at once, because just because we've got like 20 flying machines running doesn't mean it's only 20 flying machines activating at once, because you can see that we've got this flying machine that flies the blocks over, then we've got this one that grabs it, and then we've got this one that turns it around. So potentially we could have like 3 times as many flying machines activating all at once on a certain point of this like system. So I don't know, we could run into some problems, but hopefully it should work. At least theoretically it should work. And you can see that I've got this vertical redstone over here. And so let's go all the way to the back, all the way to the beginning, and let's check out where this comes from. Okay, well, where this all comes from, the reason why I came up with this and how it all works is there's this machine I found on the internet. I'll leave a link in the description. It's a barely watched video, and it's so amazing. You guys really got to go check this out and leave a like, because it makes all of this stuff possible. This machine right here is somebody else's design. So again, link in the description. And so this is using a cobblestone generator, right? So this will create blocks for you and automatically place them for you. It's amazing. Check this out. So it doesn't require any user input. You can turn it on and you can forget about it, and it'll just keep working. And so if you're going to go look at the tutorial, you'll notice that these flying machines are different. So I had to redesign these because they don't work on the console edition. So last episode I was talking about how there's a difference in timing with redstone on the console versus the PC. Well, this is one of the things. In the PC edition, the guy's got 3 observers, and this engine is turned around, and it works great. But on the console edition, it'll fly off into the distance. So I had to switch around the engine basically and shorten up the amount of time that the redstone takes basically, and now it works for us. So that's the only difference. Everything else about this machine is exactly the same as the original tutorial. And as you can see, it's built in a cobblestone wall, which is super, super cool. The problem though is we don't want cobblestone in our perimeter. That looks super ugly. And so of course this is a proof of concept, and it's an amazing proof of concept. But how are we going to be able to make a wall that's not freaking cobblestone? Because obviously we could just do that way easier by lava and water, and place in a row of lava, then place in a row of water, and it would basically do this like way faster. So again, for proof of concept, this is amazing, but it's not necessarily the most useful thing to build a perimeter wall with. So let's just go ahead and stop this and go over here and check out my super simple block randomizer for one layer of this machine. So this is where it all started. Right, we've got a dispenser with random blocks, and you place them, and it fills up this little cartridge, and then every time it comes back, it's got blocks to grab. And so you can see that it made this really cool design over here. And this is another flying machine that I tried originally, and this was my first design in order to get it to advance one step at a time. But as you can see, it gets in the way of the layer below, and so I had to figure out this one in order to make these tileable. This one over here. Okay. My gosh, I'm going to try and slow down. I'm going to try and pace myself because this is pretty complicated, so stick with me. If you're not a redstoner, probably gone already, so hope you're interested. But anyway, we can randomize one column very easily. The problem is, how do we randomize 2 columns so we can tile it together like this? Because you can see that these columns are spaced out. So we got one over here and we got one over here, and they're alternating every 3 blocks tall. And so the problem is that how are we going to fill up 2 basically columns blocks in order for it to be able to grab blocks every time? And this is what I came up with originally. So let's just break some of this, and you can see how this works. This is pretty simple, and it works great, but I came up with a better system afterwards. But as you can see, the first thing I thought of was maybe we could place, we could have it, this one activates every other time, this one activates every time. My gosh, the words today. So this was my design to vertically extend the push limit, which works really well, but unfortunately takes up too much space, you can see that, to work for our machine here. And this is actually pretty cool. It's got a monostable into a delayed piston with the slime block, and what's so cool about this is that it uses the block below to push up the block that you've just placed. See that? Really, really cool. So that'll extend the push limit for you, but it's not going to work for us here, obviously, because it takes up 4 blocks of vertical space, and we've only got 3. Okay, so in order to explain this big crazy thing over here, we're going to have to look at this one because this was before that one, and that one has all the same redstone, just in a way better package. This is just easier to understand, I think. So basically what happens is when we put this final block in here, put this final block in here, so you can see we filled up push limit here because we blocked it, and then because this one can't push anymore, it goes past it, and this one starts pushing, and that's how I was able to figure this out, is these pistons actually activate every single time. And that's how this works. And so the first one pushes it up, and once it reaches push limit, then it'll just push by it, and then eventually this one will push it up. So when this gets to the top of the line, there's a power source that's able to go through the block, and that'll activate every single one of our pistons here. So these three, and these three over here, all at the same time. So it's kind of hard to see with the redstone, but you can see that we've got a delay. And then this line goes to a delay to these pistons, goes to a single delay to these pistons, and it goes to a single delay to these pistons. So you can see they all activate at the same time. So those will push the blocks into position and stick them to the slime blocks. And then with the short delay afterwards, all of the flying machines will launch. So that's how this works, basically. We've got a detector at the top that'll push forward all the blocks once we have the column in place. And then right afterwards, these lines over here will launch the flying machines with that observer right there. Super cool. And they're all able to tile together because it exists in these little slices. It's pretty cool. So every time we finish a stack and the flying machines leave, we don't want to keep placing blocks, because if we fill this up again, then it's going to break our machine if the flying machines aren't in position. So in order to ensure that we're only placing blocks when there's flying machines in the station, we've got this line that comes down over here. You can see it comes down, comes down, comes down, and it'll actually kick this block over into that position. So it's like a little T flip-flop, right? So when that's in position, it'll power this redstone line and extend the piston so we can no longer place blocks. And at the same time, what'll happen is this flying machine will leave the station, and as it comes by here, it's going to put an observer in this spot, and it's going to activate this little circuit. It's going to grab that block, right? And so then it'll be on its way, it'll leave, and it'll go place the blocks, and the whole time we will not be able to place anything else. And so as it's coming back into the station, it's going to do that again. It's going to place an observer here again. So let's do that one more time. And what's going to happen is this time it'll be able to transfer the signal, and it'll turn on this, which will put the block back, which will allow us to place blocks again. So let's check this out. Let's put our observer. Bam, it switches everything around, and we are now able to place blocks. So that's how I was able to get the piston to extend when it leaves the station and de-extend when it comes back into the station. It was with this little thing right here. Okay, so I originally was thinking about how to tile this, and I thought that, well, why don't we just build this? We do this little extendo deal here, just right on top of each one of these, and we just deal with the fact that there's going to be a gap in the wall. So we'll just do stripes of randomization, and we'll come back through and fill it up with solid blocks. But I had an epiphany one night. I realized that there's probably a way easier way to do that little machine over there within the 3-block spacing that is required, and I figured it out in this version. So in order to figure that out, first I had to figure out how to vertically redstone this whole thing, vertically tile the redstone, so it was all instant, because we can't use the redstone dust and the repeaters, because eventually we're going to have to add another repeater, and it'll make the whole thing out of sync. We'll only be able to do so many machines at once. So with this, I was able to figure that out, and it all runs on the concept of instant vertical redstone using pistons and redstone blocks. And so when it de-extends, it's instantaneous. The redstone is instant all the way to the bottom. The extending part of it is not instantaneous, as you can see, but the second we take this block away, this block is going to move up the exact same amount of time. Bam. Okay, so this is my attempt at figuring out how to vertically wire the whole thing instantaneously using the piston trick over there that I showed you, and it works out great. This is totally awesome. It'll push everything out at the same amount of time, and it's able to be reset with this little deal down here. So I was using this little thing to reset the whole system, and obviously the whole thing can activate all at the same time, which is great. So that was just proving that that was possible, and then that's where this thing came into play, because I needed to figure out how to extend the push limit in these 3 blocks. And it was really difficult, but I figured it out. It took me a little while, but I figured it out. So this is my thing that I came up with. We've got an observer that will detect when the block is there, push up the monostable pulse basically, and then because it's a sand block, we won't be able to hit it the second time because it'll be falling down, and then that will activate our piston with a sticky block, and using the block below, we're going to push the block upwards. Very cool. So this will actually fit in between these pistons. Very, very, very barely be able to fit in here. So the reason why I wanted to show you all of this stuff leading up to this is so you can kind of pick apart like this contraption and see the different parts of it. So hopefully you'll be able to understand that this is that thing right over there. See that? We've got the observer, we've got the monostable, we've got the piston with the sticky block. And just because it was kind of a squeeze, I had to, change it a little bit, but it's the same thing. So you can see, bam, bam, starts pushing them up. Very cool. So that's how I was able to solve that problem. And using this little system, we can now fill up our cartridges all the way as high as we want, and we don't run into any problems. And then using this vertical redstone, we can activate all our flying machines at once, and we can also reset it using this observer chain from down below when the flying machine passes by our little system. And where is that actually? Oh, it's right here. So I changed the position of this system from being over this direction to being over on this side. And it's basically the same thing. It's just going to have the exact same effect as we saw already. It's just built in a slightly different fashion. Okay, so a little bit of math here. We've got 4,608 blocks in this double chest, the hoppers, and the dispenser, or the dropper. And I put some pumpkins in here so we weren't wasting blocks, because those won't go into our dropper. And so that is able to produce a 21 tall wall for 219 meters. Bam, which is the length of our perimeter approximately. So with this machine right here and all of those items, it's going to create a 21 tall wall to the end of our perimeter, and it's going to take us 5,000 blocks. So yeah. Yeah, but anyway, I'm just going to let this rip for a little while. I guess I should do this in survival mode, just to make sure that it's working appropriately. Yeah, and we'll see what this kind of palette looks like on a much bigger scale, which should be interesting. And I'll BRB. Well, well, well. This is pretty sweet. So you can see we've overlapped the wall, and it's starting to build our pattern for us. So cool. And it's tileable and everything, no gaps. It's even 2 blocks off the ground, which is super cool. You see it's actually really low down here. Yeah, and we can even make it 1 block lower as well if we really wanted to, break some bedrock or whatever, but I think this is pretty cool. So the next step of the project here, so check this out. We got 21 blocks here being built all at once, which means that if we did this whole machine and then put another one on top of it and another one on top of that, so we built this 3 times the size, we could do a 63 block tall wall all the way from bedrock to the land height level and do an entire perimeter wall all in one go, I think. Hopefully, theoretically. Man, it's super crazy. So what I want to try and do, it's going to take me a while, definitely, and I'm not going to do it immediately, so it's probably going to be tomorrow that I come back to this. I'm going to build up 2 more of these on top of it. I'm going to do a little detector circuit up here at the very, very top of it, and we'll see if this is even possible to tile vertically all the way to 60 blocks tall, because if we can, oh my gosh, we're going to have a perimeter wall randomized. Alright guys, we're over here in the mushroom generation area. I was just getting some fuel for our gold farm that will eventually work, I hope, one day in the distant future. Because we need fuel to smelt our swords, and I needed it for something else, and I can't remember why. But I figured we would come over here and work on this for a minute. Yeah, and I just checked the time on the recording, and we were freaking running out. I just talked forever. Technical stuff, I hope you guys like that. And yeah, if you got any feedback or anything interesting about how I built that or how I could improve it potentially, sure, let me know in the comments. I think I'm going to have to start building that up in the next one, because we, like I said, ran the heck out for the day. I love this little thing. It's such a simple deal, but it's super fun to work on. Oh, and I was going to mention that I called this axe the fungus feller, and I wanted to explain, sometimes I got really goofy names for my tools, and the way that I name my tools is, I can't actually show you, but on the PlayStation you've got this feature where if you type in one letter, it'll give you like a bunch of words that start with that letter. And so what I do is I'll take something like wood, and I'll do W, and so I'll have things that will just start with W, so it'll make axes like woodsy woodworm and like random stuff like that. So this was one of those just random generated axes that I made. Anyway, I think that's doing it for me for the day. Hope you guys have a really good day. Thanks for watching. Hit some buttons, and I'll see you in the next time. Bye-bye.